There are very few things in the NBA that could ever make me question my loyalty to my favorite team. But with what just happened, we crossed a line that was never meant to be crossed. This one would have broken even me. I've been around this game long enough to know that crazy things happen. Bad trades, questionable decisions, you name it. It's part of the game. We've seen it all, we've talked about it all. But let me tell you, what just happened isn't just another bad or controversial move. This is one of those rare moves that'll have people talking for decades. You guys know the kind of moves that I'm talking about here.
Did LA give up too much to get a guy who has been labeled soft, although he puts up 19 and 9, which only 11 other guys do?
Is that a trick question?
You tell me.
They gave up Kwame Brown.
Two
Who
first
cares?
rounders.
I could care less.
Tied into his salary for 4 years.
First of all, understand something. When you're giving up first round picks, if you are a quality team in playoff contention, it really doesn't mean that much. That's number one. Number two, and more importantly, Kwame Brown is gone. The City of Angels, Hollywood, just should be celebrated. Throw a parade already, whether you win a championship or not. This man was a bona fide scrub. He can't play. No disrespect whatsoever, but I'm sorry to tell everybody the truth. The man cannot play the game of basketball. He has small hands. He can't catch the ball. He's got bad feet. He can't really move, even though he's mobile. Doesn't really know what he's doing. Doesn't have a post move that he puts to memory that he can do 2 times in a row.
This sounds crazy, but the shock value of Luka and AD being involved in a move hits so much harder than the initial shock value that came from that infamous Paul Gasol and Kwame Brown trade when that trade first went down. Just a few days ago, we saw Anthony Davis making headlines for his frustration. The Lakers superstar was publicly calling out for more help in the paint so that he could slide down to his natural position of power forward.
What more can be done with this roster? Are you satisfied with the roster? Do you feel like you guys need some more here?
I think we need another big. I feel like I've always been at my best when I've been the 4. And having a big out there, we know it worked when we won the championship with JaVale and Dwight. I'm at the 5 and I'm at the 4.
All Anthony Davis wanted was another big on this roster. I was one of the few who saw the vision, even calling out Rob Pelinka for taking too long to surround Anthony Davis with another big man. But not everybody shared my view. While some agreed, others questioned the timing of it all, especially with the Lakers playing as well as they were. Yet, with all of that, nobody could have predicted that just after those complaints, that AD would find himself on a completely different team with Luka Doncic coming to Los Angeles. But before we continue to discuss this madness, do me a favor. If you've enjoyed the video so far, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so that you never miss out on any of my content. Now let's get back to this madness. After a thrilling finals run last year, the Mavericks were within arm's reach of a championship. Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, they did what they do. They put on a show, leaving the entire league on the edge of its seat. It was a legendary run that gave us a glimpse of their immense potential together. After this run, we all wanted more, as it felt like the Mavericks were on the verge of something huge.
The inbound will come from Washington. Reed is jumping up in front. Doncic has the ball, down by 2.
There's the switch.
Gobert is out there. Doncic maneuvers for the lead. Got it! Got it! What a shot!
This past offseason, the Mavericks wouldn't be complacent. They would actually take a step forward, getting depth and addressing one of their most pressing needs by signing sharpshooter Klay Thompson. These additions set the stage for a promising season. And early on, everything was going to plan. The Mavericks were fighting hard and winning games, but in the end, the injuries that were piling up, those would ultimately set them back. No injury, however, would be more significant than the injury that sidelined Luka Doncic on Christmas Day. Who would have thought that this would be the last time that we would see Luka Doncic in a Dallas Mavericks jersey? During their game against the Timberwolves on Christmas Day, Luka would suffer a calf strain, just one of several injuries that he'd been dealing with throughout the season. These injuries were likely worsened by Luka's struggles with his conditioning throughout his career. According to Tim McMahon, this lack of focus on dieting and fitness became a major tipping point for the Dallas Mavericks. I can understand why the Mavericks would have an issue with their star players' conditioning, particularly if the reports about him approaching 270 pounds at 6'6" were true. I'm 6'10", 265, and I don't feel like I'm in peak basketball shape right now. There are a lot of centers that aren't even 270 right now. Mind you that Luka entered the league at around 220, 225, so yeah. This guy getting up to 270? That's definitely a problem. Luka's weight has been a problem for most of his career in the NBA, and he's even admitted that he's had a problem. But would this problem be enough for any of you guys to trade somebody who has been first team All-NBA 5 straight times and hasn't even played their best basketball yet? I didn't think so. Luka Doncic is 25 years old. This guy is a perennial MVP candidate, and unlike some other MVP candidates, he's one that actually rises to the occasion in the postseason. Every year, this guy is leaving it all on the line. Last year, Luka was out there on one leg in the playoffs, fighting for his team to get a championship. You can legitimately argue that Luka Doncic is the best player in the league and should have been the most untouchable. The only young player that I'm taking over Luka right now is Victor Wembanyama. The Mavericks traded this guy, and all they got back was Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick. This is a good haul. It's just not a good haul for Luka Doncic. How do you not get the Lakers to throw in Reeves or even connect? The more that I look at the full details of this trade, the more that it's hard to believe that something like this has happened. The Los Angeles Lakers are out here getting superstars in their prime for clearance prices. I can't even find a good sale for some quality polo shirts. Meanwhile, here the Lakers are grabbing superstars off of the clearance rack like it's nothing. Make it make sense. Look at what Mikal Bridges went for. Look at what freaking Rudy Gobert went for. And now, go back and look at what Luka Doncic went for again.
Very recently, the Mavericks went out. They knew exactly who they wanted. They wanted Anthony Davis. That's the player that if they were ever going to trade Luka Doncic, if this was even a thought that was going to cross their mind, it was for AD. And so the Mavericks called the Lakers, offered Luka Doncic, and that's when the Lakers had to huddle internally. They've never offered Anthony Davis ever in a trade. But if you're going to get offered Luka Doncic, that's when Jeannie Buss, Rob Pelinka, and that organization, they had to meet. And it's Luka Doncic at the end of the day.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Part of the reason that the Lakers were able to get somebody who should have never been traded without a bidding war happening is because Nico Harrison, the Mavericks GM, he didn't want one. The guy just really had to have Anthony Davis. Listen to his explanation. He said that I believe that defense wins championships. I believe that getting an all-defensive center and an all-NBA player with a defensive mindset gives us a better chance. We're built to win now and in the future. If I'm Pelinka, which I'm not, I'm telling this guy to stop talking to reporters because he's about to blow the cover on our whole operation. Look, I'm not saying that there's some sort of collusion going on or anything like that, but more so that this whole thing stinks so bad that there's definitely something out there that we just don't know yet. It's ironically funny that immediately after trading Luka Doncic and saying things like defense wins championships, that this team gives up almost 100 points and a half to the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's like, yeah, some real strong defense you got going on there. We're built to win now and in the future. He said this like we all don't know how old that Anthony Davis is. There's no world where AD was ever going to give them a better chance to win in the present than the one that they had with Luka Doncic. Every team in the league that doesn't have a Luka Doncic wishes that they had a Luka Doncic. And now, the Dallas Mavericks are the ones who don't. That sucks. It's not even like the Mavericks are trading Luka Doncic and his pesky conditioning problems for some Iron Man here. Sure, Anthony Davis has shown some improved durability as of late, but this is the same guy who has an injury list that's longer than the lunch line at Chick-fil-A. Even if Luka had really requested a trade and really wanted out, which reports are saying that he didn't, you don't trade this guy without starting the biggest bidding war known to mankind. When your team is trading a guy like Luka, no matter what the issue is with him, you never want to see that multiple teams didn't even know that the guy was available until a trade was made. Reporters attempted to assist our guy Nico by putting out a story claiming that he had reached out to at least one other team about trading Luka, and Nico responded by essentially saying, no, whatever dumb stuff that you guys are saying that I did, I definitely did that while using as few brain cells as possible. For those who aren't understanding where I'm going with this, at the post-trade press conference, this man confidently got on the mic and admitted that the Lakers were the only team that he had talked to. I mean, seriously, dude, read the room. Every time that Nico opened his mouth during this press conference, things only got worse.
As he fits right along with our time frame to win now. and win in the future. And the future to me is 3-4 years from now. The future 10 years from now, I don't know. I don't think they probably bury me and Jay by then, or we bury ourselves.
Yes.
This whole thing is like that scene from Step Brothers where these two knuckleheads are at a job interview and saying everything but the right stuff.
Nico, what was the conversation like with Patrick Dumont when we introduced this idea to him?
The first time he laughed at me. No, I mean, Patrick, he's the owner. Obviously, he's the ultimate decision maker, but he entrusts in Jay Kidd and I to lead this team, and he's putting the trust into us. And then obviously you got to get judged on the performance that you've done as a leader. And at some point, if it doesn't work out, then I'll be judged for that.
If I were an owner or one of the higher ups, I would have laughed too. The only difference is that I would have never greenlighted a move like this after doing so. At the press conference, I could just feel the waves of season tickets being canceled with every word that came out of this man's mouth. Mavs fans haven't exactly been taking this whole thing well. Nico Harrison answered a few questions at this thing and then dipped out with the quickness, leaving Jason Kidd out to dry. In 2025, this is how I'm going to be leaving all situations that don't have the right energy.
All right, I know there's a lot of questions.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Great job.
But we have a game tonight.
This trade is really a giant FU to Luka in more ways than one. They even took some money out of his pockets with this deal. The report is that now he's no longer eligible for a Supermax extension this summer that would have paid him $345 million over the course of 5 years. In the future, what star in their right mind is going to want to come to play for a place that is willing to betray the trust of one of the greatest players of this generation? All this man has done is exceed expectations and perform since arriving in Dallas. And how do you reward him? You take money out of his pockets and you ship him with no warning. Is any of this stuff making sense to you guys? Because if it is, then please help me out. In 2020, Mark Cuban joked that if he had to choose between his wife and keeping Luka Doncic, that you could find him at a lawyer's office preparing for a divorce. Fast forward to today, and it's wild how much has changed. And just to clarify, Cuban had no direct role in this move. In 2023, he sold a majority stake of the Mavericks, which ultimately led to him losing control over the team's basketball operations. Let's get a live look at some Mavs fans outside of their arena right now, because I'm sure they're showing some real appreciation for their new majority owners.
Sell the team! 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 Sell the team!
I know that Mark Cuban is just sick to his stomach seeing this. This man big-brained his way into Luka Doncic in 2018, and now due to somebody else's infatuation with Anthony Davis, just like that, he's gone. Reports say that while Anthony Davis was initially surprised by the trade, he's reportedly on board with it and has a strong relationship with Nico. Davis also has waived his trade kicker to help the Mavs stay as competitive as possible. That's good stuff from AD. Throughout it all, he's just trying to remain competitive. Davis is a tremendous player. He just gave Charlotte 42 and 23. He did this while providing some of that high-level defense that Harrison loves so much. A front-court rotation with him, Lively, and Gafford paired with Kyrie running the offense, that could be something to watch. Christie is a sneaky good addition too. But even if the Mavs were to surprise people this year, it's hard to not think that you traded Luka Doncic for this. The NBA is insane. Luka and LeBron were just rivals in the Western Conference, and now they're teammates. And it should stay that way, as Bron intends to remain a Laker. We're actually getting LeBron James and Luka Doncic, man. What is happening in the NBA? This would be like if an old MJ and a prime Kobe Bryant had landed on the same team. Things like this just don't usually happen. I feel terrible for Mavs fans, but I'm excited to see what the Lakers lineup looks like moving forward when all of this is said and done. As for now, we get to watch history as the Los Angeles Lakers have defied all logic and done it again. There's still so much to dive into and unpack, so make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you guys don't miss anything. Don't forget to drop your thoughts on this whole situation in the comments below. Mavs fans, this is your safe space to vent and share how you're feeling about all of this, and trust me, we want to hear it because, well, you know, this whole thing is insane. Anyways, there's some more going on in the basketball world that I need to be covering, so clicking the video on the screen right now or using code COOP for Underdog are both great ways to support this channel. I'm GetLikeCoop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.